When the House convened this week, their first order of business was to select a speaker. San Antonio Republican Joe Straus was the unchallenged nominee. That's a change from the opposition he's faced in past sessions. This time, Straus won with the votes of all 150 House members. But the unity seen in the speaker's vote may not last long. For some perspective on the battles ahead in the House, we're joined by Round Rock Representative Larry Gonzales. Does the unanimous vote for Straus have an impact? Does it set the tone for the rest of the session?
I certainly hope so. It speaks to the nature by which the Speaker runs the House. It is a member-led body. Speaker Straus allows the members to make the decisions. And I think you see that reflected yesterday in our confidence in him to run the House, because a lot of confidence in the members to make sure that the people of Texas get what they're looking for out of their legislature.
One thing he hasn't really talked about that the Senate side has talked about a lot more is the Privacy Protection Act, the bathroom bill. It seems like maybe this might not be a priority for the House like it is on the other side.
That's going to be a recurring theme, I think, throughout the legislative session. I mean, the Senate has put out a list of priorities, and the House has put out a list of priorities. And there are some overlap, but there are some critical differences as well. Each body will take up what they feel is a priority, and then we'll send that back over to the other side, and we'll see what happens. But it's going to be kind of a reoccurring theme, I believe, during session.
Now, you've been on the Budget Committee, Appropriations, and are you expecting you'll continue in that role?
I am, for a couple of reasons. There's a depth of knowledge there that you get from having served in that capacity for so long. I mean, I, as subcommittee chairman, appropriate for 42 state agencies. So as Sunset chairman, more recently, of the 24 agencies that were in review, 17 I appropriate. So you're definitely wearing both hats during the sunset process as well, knowing we're making decisions on sunset that I will have to appropriate a little bit later on. So I think the two still mesh very, very well for me to just continue running those agencies and providing the programming and money for those agencies.
So you being a Central Texas lawmaker, I know we have others on the House Appropriations Committee. What does that say for Central Texas? Are there people in their corner?
They're very well represented on Appropriations Committee, because the other ones who represent are on different articles than I am. So we're actually spread out amongst the budgets. You have more voices across the different parts of the budget, and that's what I think is also extremely significant. Not that we're just there, we're there in a capacity where we kind of fan out across the budget. So we always have kind of an eye on Central Texas from different parts of the budget.
When you have a new president coming in, is there the hope that there is going to be maybe a little bit more federal funding, so the state lawmakers might have a little bit more wiggle room with the state budget?
That is absolutely the hope. I don't know what that looks like, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody knows what it looks like. But, you know, we've spent quite a bit of money on federal mandates. We've spent quite a bit of money on border security, as you know, because the federal government, in our opinion, just hasn't paid the bills. That is their responsibility. So we're asking for that money back. We're asking for them to reimburse us. I don't know what happens, but with a change in leadership at the Washington, D.C. level, it absolutely affects how we're going to do things here. What they do affects the state, as what we do affects the school districts and the counties and the cities as well. So it is a multi-level governmental jurisdiction. When one domino changes, the other ones can absolutely change as well.
I know a group of lawmakers have already talked about sending a receipt to Washington for the border security funding. What do you think about that?
You know, we have stepped up as a state in a capacity to protect our borders when D.C. didn't. And so I think it's very fair to say, you didn't do this part of your job, and so we expended state dollars on a federal purpose. Therefore, give us that money back. I think that's a complete fair ask.
Is that going to work?
I don't know. There's all kinds of issues, right, with D.C. and how that works. And, I mean, D.C. is talking about a lot of things right now. When D.C. starts contemplating big policy decisions, it will affect us. It will affect our budget. It will affect how we do our work here on the state agency level as well.
So let's go back to, you were talking about the Sunset Commission. What are some of the agencies that have recently finished their whole round of the Sunset process?
It's been a fantastic process, and as the viewers know, every 12 years or so, an agency gets a complete review on, are they meeting their mission, and are they doing it effectively and efficiently. So that's the question we start with. Staff works for a very long time to see if that's the case. If there are deficiencies somewhere in the mission, they start having recommendations. That's where we come in. We take the recommendations as a Sunset Commission and begin to work our way through those to see if there's other ways we can tweak an agency to make sure that it can be run more effectively and more efficiently. TxDOT is the big one, I guess, that most people will know. Railroad Commission was also a very significant for what it means to the oil and gas industry. Of course, that pays a lot of our bills on the severance tax as we as Texas sell those products globally. So it's very important that that agency is run well because they are regulating a huge part of our state budget. So those were the two really big ones. The other third one I'll add is Texas Medical Board. Everything to do with how the agency runs that regulates medicine has been in our purview, and those have been some very heated discussions as well.
Yeah, I think transparency was a big one with the medical board this week, right?
It has been. Transparency is a big one. You know, we've looked at a lot of state agencies whose boards have, in our opinion, overreached their authority. If someone were to ask me what my takeaway was from being Sunset Chair for all this time last year, I will tell you we have a systemic problem in Texas with our state agency boards running amok. They are overreaching and they are promulgating rules as if they are statutes, and they are not legislators. And so the individual agencies have really abused the rulemaking authority that we've asked them to do. So we've had to rein a lot of that back in, because at the end of the day, Josh, we, the elected officials, are accountable. The state agencies, they are not elected, they're not accountable. The accountability should be on us. We should be the one making those types of decisions, because the voters can see what we do and vote yes or no. You don't have that as a voter over the appointed boards of these agencies.
Chairman, thank you so much for talking with us.
Absolutely.
1 week down, we'll have to have you back before it's all over.
138 days more to go.
Keeping track.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us again for State of Texas In Depth. Stay tuned for Meet the